Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon Wound Pickups.
Hello, everyone. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to the Guitar Knobs podcast with us tonight. The Guitar Knobs podcast. It's fantastic. We feel fantastic because we've got a great show. We have somebody on the line that I have been trying to get on the show for a long time, and it just so happens that he's hitting us right in our full stride. So it's gonna be fantastic.
Dudzik.
But speaking of our show, Tony, what do we do on this show here?
Well, a lot of times we like to talk about gear, and we like to talk about builders of this gear that we call gear. And, it's usually focused on boutique builders of guitars and amps and pedals and pickups and pick guards and
Strings
and accessories.
The occasional 101 podcast.
We just had one just recently.
We like to learn about guitars and pickups and guitar necks and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yep.
But you said, do we have someone on the line?
We do have somebody on the line, and that is...
Hank Scorpio is here to talk. No, just kidding. I'm Doug Cower from Cower Guitars.
Awesome.
Hey.
We're really excited to have Doug on the show. Cower Guitars is a darling brand in the boutique community, and we're finally getting to have a chat with him. So keep strapped on your seats or whatever.
Your seat straps.
Yeah, and if it's more than that, we don't want to know. So, if you have your hands free and you're able to go check out Instagram.
I mean, if you're strapped into your seat, wouldn't your hands be free?
You might be, if they're not on the wheel, though.
Depends how strapped you are.
Yes.
I'm strapped for cash.
All right.
No.
And... scene. Okay. If you're able to go check out Instagram, Doug, can you direct them to where they can check out your beautiful guitars?
For me, it's just Kauer Guitars. I have to spell it because no one ever gets it right. Cower Guitars. For Instagram, Facebook, we also do a second line of guitars called Titan Guitars. It has the highly original Instagram name at titanguitars.com. Which we're not doing as much right now on, but that's coming back next year, hopefully.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll get into all that for sure.
And don't look it up if you're driving a car right now.
No, don't do that.
Or a motorcycle.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, especially
Keep your eyes on the road.
Yes. Gentlemen, we just have a couple of quick announcements. We want to say our big thanks to Rode Mics for providing the Rodecaster Pro, the beautiful machine we have in front of us that is controlling our podcast live right now. We love it. It is fantastic. Thank you, Rode, for providing that, as well as the Procaster microphones, which are sultry, silky voices, have been broadcasting for a couple of years now.
And they include the articulating arms.
They do.
Good guys.
Yes, sir. That's really kind of it right now. I just want to kind of get going on the show. Oh, no, just kidding.
Nope.
Ha-ha.
Nope.
Tonight, after we record, we're going to be doing a giveaway and recording another giveaway for our Patreons.
You get stuff.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Pretty fantastic stuff. You will have already seen it by this time, but... It was
happening
before it happens.
As
we
were watching
the Jam pedal, the Lucy Dream.
Lucy Dream.
Yeah, and that's the Lucy Dreamer, I should say. Sorry, It's the Lucy Dreamer. It's their overdrive that sounds absolutely amazing. They were kind enough to.
You got some splaining to do, Lucy.
Yes, kind enough to give that away to our patrons, and we also have this lovely LP in front of us that just came out. I'm very, very excited about this. This is, and you will have already heard it by then, but this is the. It's called "Let It Be Guitar." Joel Patterson plays the Beatles. Doug, are you familiar with Joel Patterson?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, man. He is one of my absolute favorites. He just put out this LP, and he is playing every single instrument, and it's all guitar of some sort. of like, there's 10 different kinds of guitars on this thing. It's crazy.
He plays all guitars.
Yes.
He does have a bass player and a drummer.
Yes.
And a Hammond B3 player.
Yes. Those are not guitars, so I'm still safe.
Non-guitars.
Yes. At any rate, so we're going to be giving that away to, it literally just came out. So when I ordered one for myself, I said, you know what, I'm going to order another one, and we're going to give that away to our patrons. So
the cover is like an old Beatles album.
It is the old Beatles album.
Yeah.
It's a direct
on
copy.
on the VJ record. I forget which one that was, but it was on VJ.
Yeah.
And it is so cool. It is so cool, and they even aged the back so it looks like it's been, you know, pushed in and out of the record shelf.
And it's got like a translucent milk vinyl inside. It's super great.
Milk it does a body
good. All
this
is to say, hey, people, if you're a patron, boy, are you lucky, because you have the chance to win all kinds of stuff. And we're only going to be giving away more stuff. So
how do you become a patron?
Well, we'll get to that at the end. But
why don't we go over it now?
You can go to patreon.com and check it out while we're doing this.
/ the Guitar Knobs.
That's right.
Check it out.
Okay. So what happened in our world this week, Tony?
Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. So sometimes old technology is more than sufficient for today's needs. Mm-hmm. That's the theme of what happened in the musical world this week. So years and years ago, back in the 90s, a buddy of mine, Fritz, and I used to do an acoustic guitar duo. And we used to use, as preamps and DI boxes, these Tech 21 Sans Amp acoustic DIs. Mm-hmm. Cool little box, about yay big. It's got a sort of a quasi parametric notch filter in it.
If you're listening, just make a hand gesture.
It's about this big right here. Use your minds, people. Yes. And it's got circuitry in it that is meant to mimic miking an acoustic guitar.
Right.
But you can blend that signal in with the actual signal coming off the guitar.
Yeah.
And it's got EQ and everything. And most importantly, it's got an XLR DI out. Mm-hmm. So Soundman
loves that.
You plug in the one side, the sound man plugs in the other.
Yep.
Or sound girl, woman. Sound man or woman.
Here we go.
Yeah. Get the shovels out.
So say you're on. But anyhow, so, there's plenty of new stuff out there. I mean, even Tech 21 has this whole little mini pedal board that's got a chorus and a tuner and all this. I don't want any of that. I want to be able to just take that signal coming off an acoustic guitar and plug it into a board. Mm-hmm. And this does the trick. So, old technology. I found a used one on Reverb for about $100, and it came in yesterday. And it is like, it had the original box with it, the warranty card, everything. It almost looks like this thing hadn't even been used.
So, like you bought it new. You had that feeling.
It feels like it's new.
That's nice.
And so now I've got that just as kind of a backup. My buddy Fritz moved to Pittsburgh, so I think he's got our both of our DI boxes. So I just wanted to have one in case I have got, you never know when you're going to have an acoustic gig coming.
He moved from Pittsburgh, huh? So when he gets out on 70, he can hit 70 miles per hour, and instead of just going 55.
Could you be more regional? Okay,
never mind. That's just me.
So the Pittsburgh Highway.
Listen to 60 cycle home there for a second.
So if you're driving down the 105, do you go 105 on the 105?
Anyhow, all right.
I'll get edited out, of course.
Is that?
So that was it. So I did, like I said, sometimes, and it's old technology, but it still sounds good and it does the job, and it's, half the price of the new stuff.
Considering some of the other gear that we all play, tube amps, that's actually pretty new technology. How about let's hear from Doug?
Actually, it's funny because I've had two things in that same week. I too am a big fan of old technology. Most of the shop runs on old technology, and I was trying to describe this problem we're having with our new CNC machine to the company, and I kind of had the realization I've never had a piece of software in my entire life that got better with updates. Like, it always gets worse somehow, and I just the program that I've used for 20 years now. For our main CNC anymore, but our original CNC, I had to make a jump to a brand new machine last year, The software is brand new, and somehow it's worse in every aspect. I'm like, you guys had 20 years. What did you do on this thing? And I just ended up like reaming this poor guy out at the company. And I'm like, this is the most asinine thing I have ever dealt with in my life. Well, that's how we did this. And I'm like, you had it right 20 years ago. Has no one ever used this program since? I'm like, oh yeah, it drives me nuts. So I'm with you. The old stuff is sometimes kind of nice. Especially when I just want to draw a somewhat curved line, and it shouldn't take. I'm really starting to sound like my dad. I've noticed. I'm only 36. I definitely sound like I'm about 60 right now.
You know what the big giveaway for that is when you start calling inanimate objects curse names or something.
Oh yeah. Well, that I've worked on my cars my whole life too. That started very young.
Yeah.
My poor children. My favorite Simpsons quote in that regard is when Lisa and Bart are playing hockey and Homer's yelling, "Eye of the tiger, mouth of the teamster." That's my children. They're doomed. All right, sorry for the tangent. What's been up in my guitar world in the last week? I think it technically was a week ago today. Flogging Molly came through town. We're very lucky. Dennis plays our guitars. And so it's always fun hanging out with those guys. The band's super great. But it's always hilarious because every time we hang out with Dennis, we actually don't talk about guitars at all. We somehow always talk about real estate values and our school district. Like you're hanging backstage drinking beer with Flogging Molly, and all you're really talking about is like, how good's the school district? How far can you ride your bike? What area is the cheapest to live in? And I'm like,
the Fed dropped the rate, right?
Yeah. He's from New York, so I'm always like, there's always part of me, I'm like, are we trying to convince him to move here, or is he trying to? First of all, I hate snow, so I have the automatic win argument. I'm like, it doesn't snow here. That solves all of it for me right there.
Yeah. It doesn't snow yet.
It'll most likely will be oceanfront property, but pretty soon. But it was just one of those weird surreal things. But my parents had our kids that night, and like we came back, and like, oh, how's the show? I was like, oh, it's great. What'd you guys do? Talked about the school district. Which one's the best?
Yeah. On that note, it's great. It's also really interesting when you are with the sound setups at live shows now. Like I love being up front. I want to. I want the visceral experience. I want to feel it coming off the stage.
Sure.
Which is a problem if everybody's in here and there's no actual amps on front, and you just end up talking over each other. I'm like, this is not the same experience as I hoped it would be. Well,
especially with those guys, a lot of times we're watching off on the side of the stage, and they are on their own on in-ear monitors, and like they were at a different place in Sacramento. Sacramento's like finally where we're from, kind of getting like we always had like the arena, and then we had like the tiny little club. We didn't have anything in between. We're finally starting to get those places, so bands are coming through more. Right. So we were actually out front for once, like, oh yeah, that's what it's like when you can hear everything.
Yeah.
The drunk people watching was quite intense for a Tuesday night. I was real impressed with that. That's what's up with me right now.
Indeed. I'm familiar with the oceanfront property. I grew up in Huntington Beach area. Sure. It's going to happen someday.
It'll be great for me.
Right? You will. Everybody else.
I'm at all of 12 feet above sea level. Nothing could go wrong here.
What could go wrong? Nothing.
Jared?
So the thing that I've done this week is I've arranged my guitars in such a way.
Alphabetically?
Wrong. I probably likability maybe.
Huh.
But anyway, not really. I just arranged my guitars in such a way where I think every other day I force myself to get the guitar out and play it for a while. And then I put it away and put it back on the shelf, and I kind of move it and put a space in between so I know to get the next one out and, a day or two later and play that one. kind of. So it's like I'm constantly changing. So I'm playing all my guitars, so I don't decide to get rid of it, because I'm not playing it.
Maybe you should get one of those. It's almost like a motorized tie rack, except one for guitars.
Yeah.
Or like pill containers. Like, you pop it over for Sunday and pop one over.
A pill container thing. Yeah.
I mean, I don't, because I don't do that. I'm not.
I like the tie idea. You just press a button, then it just comes up, and then press the random button, then it randomly chooses you a guitar to play.
Oh, now you're talking.
Putting
I'm going to rip you guys off and give you no credit for this.
right.
This is the Cower 1000.
Yeah. So, but something a little more interesting than that.
What could be more interesting?
Right.
Like
So
Power
my
1 million.
our good old buddies Zach and Big Buford decided
That's
to
actually
do
his name.
Yeah, Zachary and Buford decided to do a video on, and they put it all over Facebook. They're calling it the Big String Debate. And what they've done is they're buying, I think, every single brand of strings that are available, and they're comparing them all.
Huh.
So I think they're on the Epiphones guitar
exhausting.
group or something. I know, but
Just changing them alone would be.
they're in their early 20s. They have the energy and the
And it's on an Ovation 12 string.
right. So they have the they actually Zach's judgment is really good. I actually trust his judgment.
Yeah.
He should probably be a tech that travels with a rock show or something. He's really good at anything he does.
Or a judge.
That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a really interesting thing that they're doing.
That's kind of cool.
And I'll try to post those to the group, the Guitar Knobs group. so
Yeah,
you
I'll
guys
be
can
interested
check
to
it
see
out.
what they think.
Yeah. Awesome. Zachary, what did you do this week? Oh, wait. So I just got Jared with that. He's giving me the eye. Oh, he's going to.
He already told you what he did.
He's mad. He's mad.
Really?
So this week, something I couldn't believe this happened. Damage, major damage.
Damage.
I broke a string.
Live?
No, you know why? I'm using the strings I'm using right now. Currently, have been SIT, and I have been. I'm knocking on all the wood I can find. Lucky enough that just hasn't happened live. Mm-hmm. I was standing in front of my amp, getting ready to play, and it just went. I didn't even do anything, and I was like, "Well, I think that's actually the first SIT string that I've broken, but I didn't even break it myself, so I'm kind of feel a little bit cheated."
Well, do you think maybe the string just didn't want to sit through another bad riff?
Oh, hey, I've got good news for you.
brutal.
I got really good news for you, Todd.
Yeah.
I'm going to post some videos to the Guitar Knob group about strings.
Yeah. Well, I found
Really?
Yeah.
Who's doing that?
Zach and Buford.
I used to break Ernie balls like a lot. I feel like I didn't get along with those ones
Super
as well.
Slinkies?
But, yep.
Really?
Yep.
So did it break at the bridge or at the nut?
At the bridge area.
Okay.
This is on the Hagstrom Viking.
Oh, so you know what you're going to want to do is kind of file that. I bet you have a little burr there somewhere.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Come over to the shop, bring it. We'll file it with my my nut files.
Awesome.
Yeah, that same thing happened on my 62.
Stay away from me with that.
Yeah.
All right. So that was a fun, happy time. Let's get on to this stuff.
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
Okay. Doug Cower. Boy, am I happy I get to say that. I've been wanting to say it for a long time. Give us your 4 on the floor.
Well, obviously, it's 4 metal zones in a row, right? Like, that's what everybody runs. for the normal pedal
Yes.
board.
If you don't have 4 tube screamers, that's the next to go to for sure. Yes.
Yeah. So my actual 4, I've actually got my pedal board pared down to 4 right now. At a time, there was like 14 pedals on there. It's tough because you guys probably have the same problem when like, all your friends are in the industry and you make stuff and they make stuff you love. There's a lot of horse trading that goes on. And so the pedals were getting a lot out of control. But right now, my start of the chain is my tuner because, I will say I have a great tone ear. Thank God for this business. But my pitch ear needs a little work, which is why I'm not a singer.
You little pitchy
but
dog.
I just have the turbo tuner or whatever, ST200 or whatever the thing is. And that's actually, we use the same one on all the assembly benches in the shop for doing the guitar setups and stuff. It's really good. My all-time favorite pedal, it has been with me. I have two of them. Actually, I have three of them. Is Greer Amps Ghetto Stomp. And I've just never had a pedal that could replace that one. It's perfect because it's an overdrive, but it's not. The best way to describe it is it's fizzy without being a lot of boost. So like when you want that kind of little bit more drive out of the amp, but you don't have like the volume left to go up a little higher without being murdered by everybody else in the band. It's perfect for that. And so that's kind of been my go-to drive. Like it just has this right fizzy, mild overdrive thing that I love. And it seems to work with everything. And generally I find if you can leave all the knobs kind of in the middle and the pedal sounds good, it's usually off to a good start. And that's just kind of one of them. Like it just sounds great all the time. So
I like that thinking. The if it sounds good at noon, you should be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of pedals. Same thing, like I said. I mean, I'm not a giant pedal guy, so there's obviously a whole world of possibilities if you're into more extreme stuff. But and messing with it. But that's kind of what I like. And then the next one on there that I really can't live without is honestly my Strymon Flint. I just love that pedal. Mason Stoops introduced me to that one at my shop years ago, floored me then. It's been with me ever since. I love the reverb, but mostly I love the harmonic trem on that thing. I use that a lot. I have no talent playing guitar, so the more I can hide bad pitch by using the trem to be warbly, it's better for everyone.
I think we should have a no talent off and see who wins.
It's actually kind of bad because at least in the shop, once I stopped doing the assembly full time and kind of stayed in the shop and there was a full time assembly guy, I don't play as much guitar these days as I used to. And then my assembly guy left to go do something else. And so I'm back in the shop putting guitars together or back in the office. And like the neighbors are probably wondering why all of a sudden all the riffs that Ben could play are now being played wrong. They just haven't figured out it's just me now. But yeah, so that's my third. And then honestly, my fourth kind of varies a bit, but my absolute true love for spot number 4 for maximum annoyance is the Electro Harmonix B9, which I just love. I secretly really want to be an organ player anyway. And I really love to pretend to be an organ player with this pedal, so it works great for me. It definitely annoys half the people I play music with, which makes me very happy.
Right.
That actually, I think I bought that, I got that, and then I bought the Strymon, the Lex, the rotary sim, just to maximize my Jimmy Smith wannabe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my 4 on the floor.
So your bandmate was like, "Let's go for an overdriven 4-stage phaser right here," and you're like, "No, how about a Wurlitzer?"
Yeah. I just want to sound like I'm in a skating rink at all times. That's what I want to play.
Yeah. Really quickly, your note about somebody else, you playing somebody else's riffs, and then everybody wondering what's going on. Brief dump here. So I used to live in this apartment, and there were these girls that lived downstairs, and I'd be playing, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm doing all right, and my friend would come over to me, hey man, let me play, and it was just awful, just really, because he's not a guitar player, he just wanted to
sure
do it, and I'm like, oh no, then they're gonna think that's me. So silly. Hey.
Did they ever comment on your playing?
No. They didn't care about me.
We don't think we're not nearly as cool as we think we are.
No,
that's not true.
No.
That's not true at all.
I think they did everything possible to not listen. But anyways, okay, what's your next one?
Well, that was number 4.
Let's see.
It wasn't number 4?
That was number 3.
I mean, it was 4. I mean, I guess a tuner's...
That was 4?
Tuner's kind of a lame option.
Oh, wait, that was 4?
Yeah, let's see. Ghetto Stomp, the B9, and the Flint, and then I have a tuner on the current board right now. I like a wah pedal from time to time. I'm not super picky on them. I've got the Crybaby Mini Wah on mine because I tried to pare my board down to just the tiniest little board.
You have like a Metro or something? Like a
No, just the. Oh, for the board itself, I think it's just a Nano, like a pedal tray Nano.
Right.
And actually I'm running that with I guess it's probably Pedal Train's battery pack, which is great. The Strymon eats it down pretty fast, but for what I get to do right now, it's like I'll go out to a jam night or occasionally, like ironically, everybody in my family plays music. It's part of why I met my wife. But since we all have kids in my wife and I and my brother-in-law and his wife and my in-laws we just don't play music that often now. So I really like the very quickly grabbed one trip from the car rig.
Sure.
That's kind of my goal right now.
You can actually throw that rig in probably in like a mono, right? Like a mono case or something.
Yep. Yeah. They've got a little backpack thing for it.
Yeah.
It's super. I mean, it's that for what I need to play, that'll cover 99% of what I want to do.
Right.
Especially the Wurlitzer sound and,
right. So on that mini, the mini pedal is a finicky one. There are several of them out there. And if you don't have do you have an exceptionally large foot? That's
kind of a personal question.
Have you ever been asked that?
I don't feel like I should say no to that answer. The mini wah, like the mini pedals are a little tough. The mini wah is a little harder to use, I think, than the full size.
Yeah.
But then again, I tend to also be, not that I play Metallica at all, but Kirk Hammett and I do share one common love in life, and that's that just mid wah position sound, which is pretty much what I'm using it for most of the time anyway.
Cool. So you kind of just leave it at a cocked position there.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, right on. Well. That was mighty fun, and I can count. So,
but he did say 4. In my defense, he said number 4.
Yeah.
4.5. We'll call it. We're good.
Well, Doug, we want to talk to you about your guitars.
Sure.
Which is shocker. Hey,
wait, he makes guitars?
Yes, apparently so. People have told me
occasionally.
Yes. Now you have this line of yours that is remained relatively consistent for a little while, and those can be found. Where can they find your stuff on the web?
I am the most famous cower on the internet. So if you Google cower, you'll find me one way or another.
Okay.
Cowerguitars.com, and then we're mostly active on Instagram. So at Cower Guitars.
Perfect. Cool. And then, so people that, if you are familiar with these guitars, for sure you're familiar with the shapes and at least, recently. But can you kind of just walk us through just real quick your current lineup? You have 3 main shapes. You also have some that you've discontinued and previous and all that stuff. But can you just kind of walk us through your current stock, and we'll talk about some of the decisions. We're going to get into a little bit more about like what's going on with the your luthiery and your choices and the materials and all the good stuff there.
Sure. Well, the current lineup is primarily Banshee, which is our Firebird-ish guitar. We've been making that forever. It's one of the, other than our lawsuit era, it's the only guitar that survived the about every 3 or 4 year cycle that we kind of do for new stuff. So it's Banshee, and then Super Chief, which is our big semi-hollow, which is really my favorite thing we make. And then we have a Starliner, which we've done in a few different variants, but right now we're doing what's called Starliner Express, which is like a flat top. It's kind of like a Les Paul special. It's that end of the spectrum. Real straightforward set neck guitar.
Is there anything behind the trains? I mean, I know the Super Chief is a train. Yeah. I think the band. Yeah. Good.
Banshee's one of the few exceptions to the rule, but almost everything's named after trains. Sacramento's the start of the Transcontinental Railroad, so it's pretty hard to grow up in this town and not be into trains.
That's cool.
Or certainly know about them. And I just love large mechanical things. Small mechanical. I love anything mechanical. So it just seemed like a cool fit. Like actually, when I was just designing what became the Daylighter, way before I was doing this for a business when it was still a hobby, I literally, Dad and I used to work for my dad. He has a cabinet shop, so I grew up woodworking, and we played hooky because Union Pacific was going to run 2 steam engines from Wyoming to L.A., and so they were coming through the Bay Area. And so we went and chased them and did some Rockford Files style driving to keep up with them, and it was pretty fun. There was some high-speed gravel roads and such.
Sure. Which one of you was Angel?
Well, okay. I can actually tie this in 2 times over. But so we were chasing those trains, and I realized that would be a great fit. So that's how I came up with the name Daylighter, which is based on the Daylight, my favorite train. And then we've done a bunch: Big Boy, Challenger, Argonaut, which is a Daylighter in a different color scheme, and the Argonaut was just basically a Daylighter guitar in a double carved hollow body, so that seemed fitting. Super Chief, there's a few more that have come and gone over the years. Starliner, and then like the Express is kind of that way too, and the Deluxe and stuff. And then Banshee is the one of like 2 exceptions to that rule. Arcturus, which was a model we discontinued a couple years ago. Technically, I don't think has ever been a train. It was really a Simpsons joke that just kind of got away from us. Like we just designed something and I didn't know what to call it at the time. So it's like, oh, we'll call it Project Arcturus from the Simpsons episode, and the name just kind of stuck. It worked out pretty well. And then Banshee was actually the original name for the Pontiac Firebird. And I used to restore first-gen Firebirds. And it's
that is very specific.
Yeah. It's very high nerd reference. But Jim Rockford also drove a 74, if I remember, Firebird Formula. So see, I've tied it all in with my nerd knowledge here.
Well, I'm gonna get even nerdier on you, because,
and then I'm gonna re-nerd on that nerd.
Because there was just a posting on the Rockford. There's a guy that has 3 of the original Rockford file Firebirds.
Sure.
And the what was it? The Formula? Was it a Formula 400? No,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, did he have an Esprit? I'm trying to remember. If it
originally was an Esprit, but they took a Formula 400, removed the scoops, but they wanted the performance for the stunts. Sure. So they made it look like a stock Firebird.
It was like a gentleman's car.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, but it had a big old engine under the hood.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely impressed with that knowledge.
But I do not have the knowledge. I just have access to the internet.
Yeah. We have in my band, we've got a song that's called Bring Me the Night that is all about driving down Hollywood Boulevard in my friend's white Firebird with red interior, T-tops off.
Nice.
And it was his sister's, so white T-top Firebird with red interior, but the radio didn't work, so I had to hold the radio.
So even better.
It was so great, and just looking up through the T-tops at the lights, kind of passing by. It's my ode to that moment.
White over red is not bad. My uncle from the strain of Cowers that's still in the Midwest bought new and had it. I mean, still has it to this day. 77 Trans Am or Firebird Trans Am, yellow over red interior. It's the most hideous thing you've ever. It literally looks like a sinus infection. It's just so bad. And he just thought this is the greatest combo ever. And I'm like, and it's like bright yellow. It's mucusy and horrible and and
only gets worse with time, I'm sure.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, not unlike a A sinus infection. That's hilarious.
So on this week's
on this
Firebird podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sorry for the big derailment there. Train pun and
Yeah, no,
That's cool
really,
though. That's I didn't know the original name for the Firebird was a Banshee. That's really cool.
That's a piece of trivia
Nice.
right there.
Yeah, it was it's actually, I mean, it doesn't look like what became the Firebird. The first car they made with that name, Banshee, was like 1964, and it was literally jet powered. And then they're like, "Oh, that's probably cool, but not going to work." And then they made another jet powered car because why not? And
Yeah.
that one
Right.
Had all these parts laying around. Hey, what are you gonna do with that extra jet engine?
There was a
let's
lot
make
of
another
gin
one.
and a lot of cocaine.
Oh, man. GM
We won't
and the
miss it
60s,
here.
man.
Yeah.
Just nothing but buckets of cash.
So you've got Americana running through your blood in the good kind of way.
Oh, I think so.
Is that
Yeah.
like bourbon?
Ooh, let's circle back to that subject.
When you are designing these guitars, and not just the ones that you've already done, but I'm sure and we'll get to what you're going to be working on in the future and where your brain is going and everything. But there's a retro vibe to it, but not beholden. Can you just kind of talk about where that comes from?
Well, I'm an offset junkie first and foremost, which is odd because I never actually owned an actual Fender offset in my life. I grew up playing Strats, but the first guitars I designed were based on Jazzmaster-ish shaped things because the shape is great. And I was born in '83, so Nirvana and all that grunge era stuff is kind of imprinted on my mind. So I love, obviously we all love 50s and 60s guitars. We're all playing them, but I don't feel like I have to be tied to that era.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be tied to that era. Banshee is kind of the one exception. And I kind of feel like at least Banshee, I can hang my head on it and say, well, we've made that guitar the best version of that guitar. It could be, we've updated a lot of the way that guitar is made to do that. But everything else is just kind of, I didn't go to design school or art school. I can't hand draw a guitar to save my soul, much to the embarrassment of myself and the love of everybody else in the shop. I think it's hysterical when I try to draw something by hand. It's so bad. So I kind of came around. I kind of fell into doing this in the first place, but I took a year of AutoCAD in high school to avoid taking calculus. And the next year, my dad bought like the first CNC machine for cabinet work in Sacramento, and I just started doodling in AutoCAD, and then eventually, I kind of fell in, made Strats and Tellys and stuff like that, and then like once you get kind of a sense of proportion and can't make a guitar that's 29 inches wide, that doesn't make that's way too big. I just kind of carried through to that, and then I kind of have a fairly specific design sense. Obviously we all make things that we want to play ourselves, as far as designs go, I would hope.
Mm-hmm.
But like I tend to be, I wouldn't say our designs are outrageously polarizing, but like a lot of times I tend to make intentional choices about like pickguard design and sometimes contrasting shapes when people would tend to want to see that mirror. Like, oh, it's got to follow the body exactly.
I was just going to address that. I'm not even kidding. I think it's an important point. I really do. And we've brought this up on the show before, which is one thing that we can't get away from, that we gravitate towards. Like if you think about the Flying V, okay, that pick guard, if that guitar was designed in the modern era right now, that pick guard would not look like that.
Sure.
It would, because it's asymmetric to the actual like shape of the actual body. But that is common throughout so many of the older styled guitars. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at them right now, and that's one of the things that I gravitate towards. It's really prevalent on the Super Chief, where
very much on
the
Super
upper
Chief,
horn doesn't exactly follow the body shape. And I think I'm really glad that you are consciously making those design choices.
Yeah, I like, especially pick guards. Like when we started doing this, I was doing a lot of carved top stuff. And then over the years, I have to say, thankfully, most of our customers have shifted into liking our flat top stuff more, which is honestly great for me because it's so much easier.
Right.
And I've been able to open up like, Super Chief or Starliner when we do a pick guard routing under for it, the pickups, routing that as a P90 and a humbucker combo. So there's some options that you wouldn't have in like a carved top with a specific pickup route. But I like to design a pick guard for the most part that can kind of stand it as its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't need to mirror the guitar. You've already made the guitar. You want them to work together, obviously, but it can be kind of its own contrasting piece to that to keep it interesting. Like Mark Fuqua at Motorab, who I really love. I love the Bel Air, and I love those guitars.
Mm-hmm.
He does a beautiful big semi-hollow, and the pickguard does mirror the body, and that's part of why I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to feel like I was stepping on his feet at all. But I enjoy the contrast for that.
By the way, reached out to him, and we hope to have him on the show. I think we're looking at spring. He wanted to make sure he gets some stuff taken care of and whatnot. But
I think I still owe him a phone call for like 3 months now.
Really?
So if he's listening to this, sorry.
Well, if you talk to him, mention us. Just remind him. But he was obviously makes great stuff, and the guy's backlogged forever. So
and he just moved to like Nashville, I think, in the last year or so.
Yeah, it was kind of a big move, and not, hey, I want to, but right now is not a good time, kind of thing. One of the things about those pick guards, and Tony's just in pick guard heaven right now.
Oh yes, pick guard porn. I love it.
Yes, I liken it a little bit to how we approach analog sound versus like digital sound. Digital sound being like, it's perfect, right? Mm-hmm. Analog sound being a-perfect, not perfect. I don't know if a-perfect is a word, but now it is.
Patent it.
Yep.
Trademark.
And there's it's that subtle wonkiness that we love.
Yeah.
And
it's an organic shape, like on the Super Chief there. I mean, that is, it works. But as you say, it doesn't match the edges. I mean, one of the hardest things as a pickguard maker, somebody wants to follow a horn exactly, or especially on a bound guitar, and it can be a real nightmare. I mean, I spend half a day on a drum sander sometimes, just taking this little bit off, and then I take too much, and I got to start over. But I kind of like the it's just like I said, it's an organic shape. Yeah, and it as long as it works. And it does what it's supposed to do.
It's not unlike music too. It's like if all the instruments on a song sound exactly the same, you want that sort of like, kind of like subtle battle, like
something to break it up.
Yeah, like a drummer doing just a little something that's shaking it up against the, maybe even like a slower drag, the lazy beat, sort of like Charlie from the Stones or something. Sure. Anyways,
well, the other thing too is I tend to be, because Banshee was the first guitar I built totally from scratch. Like I had made Strat and Tellys, but I bought the necks, really early when I was doing this, just kind of learning my way. Banshee has a very left playing position. That's a big complaint about people who, like the number one thing people ask me, or people who play a Gibson Firebird, like, what's the scale length on this? I'm like, it's the same scale. It's just very left. But I have consciously designed most of what we make not as drastically left as Banshee, but I learned to like that pretty quickly. And so if you look at like the way our necks are, most of the body is joined on the treble side, like 19th fret, they're pretty close to the end. And that doesn't give you a lot of room to do a pick guard when you want to follow the contour of the body, because then you're into like the neck pickup and stuff. So it doesn't work like a Strat does necessarily, where the neck is a little further into the body and you can kind of just follow the outline of the body around and it works. I have to kind of balance that out. Sounds really bougie of me to talk like this, but trying to come up with a balance between, I want a certain amount of neck access, I want a certain amount of position, but I got to have all this stuff fit a certain way. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things that I the absolute master of this is Saul Cole. Saul masters a contrasting pickguard design, and honestly, I probably end up subconsciously ripping him off most of the time. But he's also another one of those guys who just does it really well.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's Tony and I were talking about this when we were designing one of my pick guards. He does all my pick guards. He does all my pick guards. I've got a pick guard guy.
Pick guard maker.
I got a guy. Sure.
Don't you ever call me your pick guard maker. Right?
I got your pick guard right here.
So we were talking about how it's difficult. Like when we're so familiar with all of these shapes, and we're so familiar with all the nuances that we just accept it now. Sure. But if we tried to make that in that manner, it just feels weird and it feels like we're doing something wrong. So to be able to have the discipline to say, nope, that wrong is the right that's very commendable.
Well, thank you. It's probably because I don't know what I'm doing most of the time, but I'm putting a good spin on it here, I think.
Yeah. We'll just edit that part out.
That's fine. So what types of wood do you like to use?
So for the Cower line, we have a pretty specific formula. Almost everything is Spanish mahogany. So Spanish mahogany's trade name is Spanish cedar. We've done a Gibson and just renamed it universally because it's not cedar and it's not Spanish. So it's basically a Honduran mahogany cousin. It's less commercially demanded than Honduran, so it's not as endangered or difficult to get. But there's a few builders that really use it in the electric world who hit me to it very early on. And I'm literally convinced you cannot build a bad sounding guitar out of it. Like it just has a sound that I love. If you're trying to build the best Blackguard Telecaster, is not really the best choice for that. Though I've done Teles in Spanish mahogany and they sound great. But it's got a nice, it's mahogany-ish. It's just got a little different thing going for it than most mahoganies. And I think a lot of people don't really know what mahogany really sounds like in some regards. Like, the big rap about like Paul Reed Smith's like, I don't like how they sound. That's African mahogany that they're using. It's a very different sound than South American mahogany. It's much harder. It's much denser.
It's very heavy.
Yeah, it's much faster in the response, and that can be a good thing depending on what you're trying to do. And that's not slag on PRSs. That's just why it's a different sound than like an old Les Paul or something.
Yeah.
And
that's the same way with even.
And we generally pair it up with so that's bodies and necks.
Yeah, the same goes for like Carina or limba, African limba.
Yeah,
it looks kind of like mahogany, but it does sound different.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny because I've done Carina, I've done limba, which are the same tree. Carina and black limba is the only difference is what part of the tree it is. And then African mahogany. Early in Cowers before we switched to Spanish mahogany. African and Carina sound a lot closer than you would expect. They're not as drastically different as I expected. Honduran and African are fairly different. Spanish mahogany and African are different. I like our formula. We'll pair that up with like, maple tops depending on stuff or whatever, or just solid Spanish mahogany bodies. The main thing I am in the camp of, and I don't know many people who are in this camp, though I've been noticing more builders are kind of coming around to this. I think we spend too much time obsessing on the body woods, and I don't think it makes that big a difference, honestly. I don't think it makes the difference we have it in our head that it does. I think the neck wood and how that neck is made makes way more of a difference in the guitar than the body wood does.
I tend to think it's the pick.
The body wood's important. it's definitely the pickups.
The pickups.
Yeah. No. It's. I can clearly hear the difference between PVC and acrylic pick guards.
Oh, everyone can.
Right.
Yeah. I also know that my blue socks sound better than my black ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've really found if you're going for the Gibson-y, Gretsch-y end of the spectrum, sticking with that mahogany neck, like we've done Argonauts, especially, and we've done early cowers. I don't do it now, but I have done early cowers where we would do a maple neck for somebody on like a daylighter, which is, a daylighter standard was basically our Les Paul at the time. And I would hate those guitars. They sounded so drastically different. The response is they have just completely different personalities. The Spanish mahogany neck wood formula that we use, I really like it. It's really consistent guitar to guitar for us.
You know what a Spanish mahogany Telecaster sounds like?
I do actually.
La Telecaster.
There you go. That's Spanish for the Nino.
Boy.
So about fretboards, what's the most versatile wood that you go to?
We use one wood. We've used Wenge for 10 years now. And I've done the same reason we got hip to Spanish mahogany. I don't like working with endangered. Wenge is not an endangered wood. It's an African rosewood variant. It's kind of a funny story. Way before I was doing this for a business, I was doing when I was still doing it as a hobby, I built a bass for somebody. And he's like, I gotta have a Wenge fretboard. And I was like, I hadn't really heard of it or used it. And no one sold a Wenge bass fretboard blank. So I literally I had to buy an 8-foot stick to get one fretboard out of it. And I was super mad about it. And he's like, no, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. And he was right. I love Wenge. It's kind of my same argument about wood choices. We choose fretboards. Our order of priorities are different. I want to choose stability first. I want to do how it machines second, how it retains a fret. Really, actually, how it retains a fret is tied with number one, and then how it looks. And then kind of at the bottom is how it sounds. I've done Brazilian, I've done Palo Ferro, I've done Indian, I've done Cocobolo, I've done Zircote, black African blackwood. I like all of those, but they don't do anything that Wenge doesn't do for me. Also, and there's not the environmental drawback to it compared to Wenge.
Sure.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was when the rosewood laws changed a few years ago. It was great for us.
Yeah. You mentioned something about retaining frets, and I think that's the first time I've mentioned, or the first time I've heard a luthier on the show mention that. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, obviously, there's a couple of approaches to that, but how well that fretboard retains that fret. 'Cause, when you look at a piece of fret wire, it's a metal bulge with a tang and little little nibs on it. There's not really a lot holding that fret in there. Now, some guys glue them. I've been in both camps. What we want is a fretboard that will mechanically hold that fret well, and resist, expansion and contraction that they will do naturally over time. You don't want that fretboard to contract so much over time that the slots open up, and then you lose that good mechanical fit on that fret. That's how you get frets that spring up, or spongy frets and stuff. Like we've done, Cocobolo was like this. When we did a few Cocobolo fretboards, and the first guitar we did, we fretted it. We got the whole thing done. And it was so permanently backbone that we had to pull all the frets, re-slot the fretboard again, open the fret slots up wider than it should have been, refret it, and then the fretboard expanded a little bit again. And some of that is environmental and the quality of the wood and how dry it is and all that stuff. But mostly we just want that to, that fit to be good and consistent. And I've sent guitars all over the world. I've been lucky to have guitars on tour with people all over the world with Wenge fretboards, and they've been great. No issues down the road. Knock on wood here, so far.
Do you personally prefer a bound neck or an unbound neck?
We bind everything. Where people, I think, get hung up is how you bind a fretboard. And this is funny. I think there's a lot of things that I fell into doing because I, A, didn't know better, or B, wasn't very good at this early on. So most fretboards are like a Gibson Les Paul has a 1 millimeter thick binding. And the problem with that is it's so thin that when you curve the neck, you have to come up and then you basically have to stop where the neck and the fretboard meet, and it just kind of suddenly squares off because there's just not a lot of plastic there. And I think that's where a lot of people don't like that feel. We use a 2 millimeter thick binding because honestly, when I first started doing this and I was having some issues with, getting those fretboards to glue on exactly right, that little extra plastic would let me kind of have some wiggle room and sand out that neck profile, basically more like a Fender unbound neck where it rolls smoothly through the bottom of the fretboard. So like actually, if you look at our necks upside down from the backside, you can kind of see the actual, plastic. You can see the bottom of the fretboard binding a little bit as the neck kind of finishes out its carve. And so that I think that solves that kind of feel issue. So like when people don't like the look of a bound fretboard, we just bind them in black to match the fretboard where you basically can't see it. And then I like it too because then all of our fret ends are hidden. So down the road when it's time to refret the guitar, if or when it becomes time for that, you don't have to deal with damaging the finish on the side of the neck and stuff. It's just to make the next guy's life a little easier.
So you fret on top of the binding, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, no nibs.
No nibs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that I never did quite understand why, with as many guitars as Gibson made, that was their method of putting fretting bound necks.
It seems I have never come up with a good rational reason for that. I think it's one of those things that
just they'd always done it that way.
I think they got locked into it. They did it that way. People liked it or thought it was nifty. I guess in one regard, what it lets them do is, they basically make the fretboard, they inlay it, radius it, they put their frets in, and then they just leave their frets flat on the end, and then they put the plastic over it, and then they don't have to spend as much time trimming off a fret end.
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to mention that. It's a lot less work, faster production.
Yeah, but still having to go in and every fret you have to leave the nib on.
No way.
Oh, what's faster, shaving plastic or metal?
Boy,
plastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I feel bad. It's one of the things like with banshee and stuff where I like where I'm at in this business is, I always feel bad. Like, you make it big as a band and then you're stuck playing that same first hit song for the rest of your life. Gibson's or Fender or these guys, they get kind of put in a box and they're in an almost damned if you do, damned if you don't position where, if Gibson tries to go like, we're going to get rid of the nibs because these are stupid. People, up in arms. Oh my God, you're changing it. You go back to what you used to do. And then they go back to the nibs and then, that guy has to refret a guitar with nibs. Like, nibs are the dumbest idea ever. Like, oh my God, you can't win.
Nah, I totally get that. So are you CNCing all of your inlays and everything like that too?
Yeah.
And what inlay material are you using?
I literally have never built a guitar without CNC. I would not have gotten into this had I not been just messing with my dad's CNC machine. So we don't use real pearl. Everything's synthetic. So we actually laser cut our inlays.
Are you using an acrylic?
No, it's actually a celluloid nitrate.
Oh, okay.
It's the same stuff Gibson used in the 50s.
Gotcha.
It's funny. We used to use real pearl. And I used to CNC cut all of it. It was a real drag. And honestly, there's a lot of health issues in the shop with it because the dust is so toxic and there's
really
mental issues. Oh, it's horrible. It's
as is rosewood.
Yeah, it's basically really like bad. Breathing glass powder, essentially. And so, it's not so much during the CNC cutting, but when you have to like level the fretboard, all those inlays down, that's all the dust and everything. And then we switched to synthetic, and I don't think anybody ever noticed. It was great.
Well, I know a lot of companies have switched over to that's a pearl acrylic, and it actually is. It's pretty convincing, actually. I mean, if you get a good sheet that has lots of swirls in it, it does the trick.
Yeah, the acrylic's not bad. I have some of that. We've been using that for the headstock inlays, the logos more often lately. Just because the celluloid stuff's kind of getting a little more difficult to get. I'm not sure why, but it's been a little tough lately.
Yeah, tell me about it.
For the fretboards, I really like celluloid.
Yeah, it's finding celluloid anymore. I mean, I still have a couple of good sources, but it's really getting more and more difficult. I mean, I know a lot of places are you going more to even to an acetate instead of a nitrate, and even that, you're limited. There used to be hundreds of companies making this stuff in Italy and all around the world, and now it's down to maybe 2 factories.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been a little interesting lately because we're kind of out and we've been scrambling a little bit to get more material, and we're like, somebody please call me back.
Tony, you want to?
Well, let me tell you something, kid.
So, Doug, everybody should be now pretty familiar with this Doug Kauer guitars, but you also have the Titan line. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with that.
So we brought that out 3 years ago, and it was kind of our Don Quixote quest of trying to build a guitar. It's kind of a double-edged sword. It's going to sound also bougie. I designed a guitar at a price point I knew would fail, but I wanted to show the world why it would fail. So it's an amazing guitar. The KR1 was the first one we made. It was $1,300 with Duncans and good parts and hardware. We just took every single aspect of that guitar that we could simplify down as much as possible. Sorry, I think my kids just got home and now they're banging on the door. So
quite all right. I'm familiar.
Let them join in.
So, believe me, they'll talk your ear off worse than me. But we just simplified that guitar down to just being like the most bare essential thing of what we could make without giving, we didn't want to go to China for the hardware. We didn't want to go to China for the pickups. We didn't want to, use a generic quality neck. We wanted a good neck. So the original Titans were built with Grover Jackson made our necks originally because at the time it was cheaper to sub that one part of the process out than to do it in-house. We were so busy with Kauer at the time. And now we actually have we're making those necks in-house after all now. But it's a killer guitar. The KR1, my go-to guitar that I play, honestly, still the most of everything that I own it's just a middle of the run, nothing special about it. KR1 with a pair of Lawlers in it that I adore. It's actually the only Telecaster that I've ever really bonded with. Essentially, it's a J Street in the bridge and an Imperial in the neck, and it's killer. So we did that, and then and it went really good the first year, and then kind of slowed down a little bit the second year, and we kind of realized that we were so busy the first year that we didn't build very many Kauers that year, so we were trying to find a good balance in the shop. And then this year, ironically, we're so slammed with Kauers that we actually closed the ordering for Titans this year. We just couldn't do both with my current staff. But next year, I've got new designs in the works for Titans. I've got something actually that I will probably have strung up tomorrow. It's the first guitar to come off the new CNC. So I'm actually kind of excited about it.
That's awesome.
And I put a down payment on a Plek machine last week, so that will hopefully help make that price point a little bit more profitable. Well, I don't know if profitable is the right word, but accomplishable. But it was doable. It was an amazing amount of guitar to come out of. I mean, the same shop that we're building $4,000 guitars in.
Right.
It was a great guitar. It was nice to show that it can be done. But it also is a good, maybe eye opener is the right word for this, to kind of appreciate how hard Fender or Gibson does have to. I know we slag on Gibson a lot, but it's hard to do a lot of volume.
Sure.
It's hard to make a lot of guitars even reasonably decently, let alone good every day.
Yeah.
Right.
We would be averaging like 2 or 3 Titans a day, and that was a hard day.
Yeah. Well, one thing that brand does, and this is another thing that we've mentioned many times on the podcast, is that we love to love a brand. We love to love a builder. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of us, for those who aren't able to get into a Kauer branded guitar, this is a way to do that.
Absolutely.
And fortunately, a lot of builders are aware of that, and they've created sort of sublines. It's not anything unlike the actual fashion industry. I mean, some of those high dollar guys, you can pay $20,000 for a dress or $100 at Macy's.
Well, it's kind of so there's a couple other aspects to this too. Is one, there's a lot of people who look at what I do. They go, oh my God, $4,000 for that guitar, and Doug sells 100 of those in a year, and that's $400,000 a year. And I'm like, first of all, it's not, because we're selling through dealers. So it's not really $4,000 a guitar on my end. And you would be amazed how difficult it is to make a living, even with those numbers. Like it's hard. And the money is not what people think it is, both as an outside person looking in, but also really as people who build guitars as a hobby, and they think, oh man, I can build a guitar for $300 in parts, and if I sell it for $1,500 and I do that every day, I'm going to be, I can make a living out of that. Mm-hmm. And the reality is those guys almost always fail. We could not do Titan by itself. Titan we could only do because Cower was also there, and we have the accessory line with the racks. And so they all kind of pool together money-wise. It obviously the same, it's all in the same business, but, it's very difficult to survive on very low end, very tight margin guitars. Not low end, but price wise, it just doesn't sell like you think it does.
Sure.
In my mind, I should be selling 100 Titans a month, but really, if we sold 20 in a month, that was a good month.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think at that price point too, you're competing with. We'll call them known brands and other boutique builders. So, it's almost like there's the $500 and under market. There's the $1,500 and then there's the 25, and then over 4,000. And each
in
one
my
of those.
experience, $1,000 to $3,000 for the boutique industry is a death spot to be in. You can't survive in that range because you're exactly right. At $1,500. If that's your budget, you're probably buying your first higher end Defender, moderate level Gibson.
Yep.
We lose on the name right off the bat. And I'm not offended by that. Everybody should go through that arc. And we wanted to appeal to people that, like I said, maybe follow Cower, but couldn't swing a Cower, or maybe people that are a little less hung up on because they didn't grow up idolizing Jimmy Page or something, that they could be more open to something that's not necessarily what their dad played. Not to poop on Riggs of dad. But you know what I mean? Like, I, in me personally, if I never saw another Telecaster in my life, I would be okay with that. I don't need to own a blonde Telecaster. It amazes me to this day that Fender can still make 1 million of those in a year and sell them all. Like, how many do we need of those? So we were trying to hit that kind of thing and give you some options. And then, it had the universal routing and the modular pick guards. And so there was some upside. I'm frustrated that we kind of had to take our foot off the gas on it. I mean, I'm not frustrated because Cower's doing so well, but the thing that makes me happy about that brand, why I can never call it a failure, is my big fear was we would make like 100 of them, and then they would all end up on the used market, and that would be it.
Yeah.
But really, Titans don't come up for sale that often.
That's good.
Not like I expected. Yeah. So people really, like them. They keep them. A lot of them have moved on to Cower since then. A lot of our friends that have both are in the same as me. They're not afraid to take a, $1,300 Titan out to a, blues night gig or something, but they don't necessarily want to take a $4,000 Banshee out to. So it's we've learned a lot. It's taught me a lot of things and how to improve our process on all fronts doing that guitar. So I'm even if we never made another one, I feel like it was still a success for us in that regard.
Well,
Awesome.
maybe you can have a Titan buy-up program. They start with a Titan and then move on to a Cower.
Yeah, there's been talk about that. I think what we might do and what we're kind of leaning towards doing is kind of how we do Cower in some regards anyways. Do a model, run it for 3 years or whatever, or a certain number of, 100 guitars, and then that's it. And then we bring a new model out.
That's a great idea.
We kind of find that with Cower too. Cower has about a 3 to 5 year lifespan for whatever we make.
Well, that's what a lot of pedal guys are doing too. I mean, it's pretty smart actually, because then you create an instant demand. You're like, well, that's it.
Well, and it keeps it fresh too.
Yeah.
I ultimately, the biggest problem with being busy is I don't get the time to go just doodle in the office as much as I'd like to sometimes. And it's kind of weird because the thing I think I was most excited about this year was the boxes that we had made. I'm like, wow, have I been doing this for too long? Am I so jaded right now that that's what I'm excited about?
Yeah.
But that being said, I think I'm the first person in the entire world to have thought, wow, this box by Guitar Kit is giant and awkward. What if I just put 2 holes in the box that you can grab onto? And my UPS guy loves me now. So I'm actually kind of excited about that.
And it's always good to take care of the service guys like that.
Yeah.
Got to take care of it.
So like this week I got to not doodle. I've had something in the works that I think will be Titan, the new release for Titan next year. And even though I've had a million things going on the last couple of weeks, I was like, I just need a break. I want a day of sitting in the office and to design this thing and go cut it on the CNC. And I finally got a chance to do it. And I'm excited about it. I'm
awesome.
It's fun to be excited about it again.
Awesome. That's good news. Well, please keep us abreast of that new development and anything else that comes out of Cower. Well, dude, it has been a joy talking with you about your guitars. We're going to transition over to...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Would You Rather? Okay. This week's Would You Rather.
I wish I had my B9 plugged in right now.
I can compete with that. So this week's Would You Rather is special because something similar actually happened.
Inspired
by real life.
That's right. A gentleman acquired not just but the guitar case, a Lifton case for Jimmy Page's number 1 for his guitar. I believe back in the 70s, I want to say. And he kept it for a million years. And the reason...
Or 20
or 20 or 30, 40, right. 50, whatever.
Probably 30,
whatever
40.
it takes.
Time is relative, guys.
40 years, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, it had duct tape on it, and it was all wore out, and they got a new case for the guitar. That's why the roadie just, I guess, gave it to this guy. Anyway, the guy contacted Jimmy Page's people through some source. He got to spend an hour with Jimmy Page and talk to him, and he gave him the case back. He gave the case back to Jimmy Page. It was really happy, and, you get to meet your guitar hero, and it was really special and really cool. It was a great story. So this week's Would You Rather is kind of based on that.
We're going to twist the knife.
Yeah, Todd kind of upped the ante on it, and I thought it was really cool. So we're going to do it. This week's Would You Rather. Would you rather have a case and meet Jimmy Page for an all expense paid and an hour of time, but you have to give the case back, right? Or
all day. Just make it all day.
Yeah, all day.
You get to hang out with him all day in
all
his
day.
castle. In his castle.
In the castle.
Yeah.
The scary castle with the crappy neighbor.
Yeah.
Or
I forgot about that.
or would you rather have one of his actual guitars, like his EDS 1275 or one of his other Les Pauls or what have you?
Let's say one of the other Les Pauls.
Or the thing. Yeah. And you get to keep it forever, but you never meet Jimmy at all. Like, he doesn't know you exist.
But,
and he's
but
like,
it's
where's
verified
my guitar
that it was toured and recorded with.
Yeah.
All
and it
right.
belongs to
DNA
someone.
tested.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
You don't get to meet Jimmy.
All right.
No, Jimmy.
Now, Doug, was I right? This is a tough one, right?
Actually, this one's kind of easy for me.
Okay. Don't tell us yet.
Okay.
We're going to give your pipes a break. Tony?
What Doug said.
Right.
Which
Good
is,
answer.
Yeah. It is kind of a tough one. Does it have to be Jimmy Page?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes it a little easier, I guess.
Paul McCartney for you.
No,
Oh,
Jimmy.
Paul McCartney for
No,
me?
what?
Beatle bass.
Okay, no, I'll stick to the Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
James Page.
Okay.
To me, spending, we'll just say an entire day or an afternoon, whatever, with one of your idols would be priceless compared to having a guitar.
A priceless guitar.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think the experience, the older that I get, I find that experiential things are worth more than tangible things. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with...
Is that why you're going to start gifting me some of your guitars overstock?
Whatever you need, Todd. Oh, yes. Whatever you need.
I knew I'd crack
You'll
them
just
someday.
spray paint them black and put gold guards on them.
Yeah, that's you cannot paint them black
I
or
won't.
put a
I
sparkle
don't.
guard on them.
Anyways, go ahead.
So I'm going to go with that. I think the experience of spending an extended amount of time, whether it's a day or whatever, even dealing with a nasty neighbor next door to the castle, the surf. I think that would far outweigh having something that you can just crack open the case or hang it on the wall and say, "Oh, that was Jimmy Page's." But but you have the experience. I spent a whole day with James Page.
Yes.
So that's what I'm going with.
Okay, Jared.
Me? No. I'm the opposite. I'll keep the guitar because even after spending a day with Jimmy Page, he's going to forget my name 5 minutes after I leave. I'm keeping the guitar.
Okay.
Final answer.
Why does it matter if he remembers your name?
Well, let's not ask it. You just scrambled. You just scrambled.
I stunned him.
You got me.
But
It doesn't matter. I always have the guitar.
But now, is this going to be a player? Are you going to play it? Or are you going to put it in a case somewhere and just let it?
I'm going to play it.
Okay.
It'll be on his guitar tie rack thing.
That's right. The guitar tie rack.
Yes. Doug, how about yourself?
Okay, so this is easy for me, but I'll preface it here. One, the old adage, you don't want to meet your heroes.
Yes.
But one of my guys literally has met Jimmy Page, and he is the nicest guy. So then I know that solves the fear of meeting your hero. And I've had valuable vintage guitars in my house of customers of mine, and I hate having them here. I literally would be a wreck knowing there was a guitar sitting in my house that cost more than my house. So I'd rather hang out with Jimmy Page. I would much rather do that. That would be much more interesting to me, I think, than being constantly worried that someone was going to break into my house and steal Jimmy Page's Les Paul.
What questions would you ask Jimmy Page?
One. Just name
Just
one.
a question. What question? A question.
We'll skip that question. Well, you can keep that private. That'll be
I've
between
stunned two. I've stunned Jared and I've stunned Doug. Can I stun you?
Can you stun me?
Yeah.
No. You can never stun me.
Oh.
I was
Except when you make my pick guards.
Why are you guys so great?
Why are you guys so great? Or you could do the
Remember when you were with Zeppelin? That was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, let me finish because I'm trying to put this diplomatically.
Okay.
Zeppelin is, I think, Jimmy Page, I think, is the greatest studio guitarist and the worst live guitarist I have ever heard.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how much heroin has to do with that. But I would be curious to find out how much.
I thought it was more of a cocaine thing that they did.
Maybe cocaine. Yeah.
All the drugs. Anyways.
Yeah.
I think you're probably not far off there.
Yeah.
As for me,
What about you, Todd?
Oh, thanks. I would definitely choose the day with Jimmy. I would 100% do that. But I would try to make sure that, like, if I was going to be there for the day, that on the hour we would do something completely different and wild to help just make it a memorable day for both of us.
See, it matters to you if he remembers you or not.
Do you think you would talk to Jimmy Page about, like, the local school districts? I got you covered.
Yeah, that's a great question.
There you go.
I think Todd would when Jimmy was off to the bathroom to the loo, he'd be out grabbing a couple of guitars and throwing them in the boot of the car.
I think it'd be cool just to
I remember that one.
Yeah.
He stole me guitars.
What are we doing this hour, Todd? We're gonna sit in the back of the rolls and just hang out and talk, and maybe just have a cappuccino and just be bougie for a bit, right? Why not, right? With no shoes on. So there. I don't know.
Socks or no socks?
I don't know. I don't care. Shut up,
Why
Tony.
wouldn't you want to play guitar with him?
No, absolutely not. Are you kidding me?
I would.
I have a hard enough time playing in front of like other people. Anyways,
I'd show him how to play stuff.
If you're playing with Jimmy Page in the studio, that could be intimidating, but live, not so much.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
You're like, I've heard you, man. You're not that great.
I got a 50-50 chance of being better than you, man.
Oh man.
I'm gonna get hate mail for that.
Sorry, Jimmy.
No.
If you're listening out there, Jimmy, please.
I love him.
Well, this was
My
a
favorite.
super good Would You Rather. Thank you, Jared. That was excellent job there. Tony,
Yes.
we need to thank a couple people real quick. Can we do that?
How quickly would you like me to do this?
Quicker than
Todd?
normal.
Quicker than normal?
Well, just you know,
can I just give a little background
give
on
the
it?
time for everybody.
I
Yes.
want to do that. I think these people are deserving of this, and there's probably another
I
group
agree.
of people that are wondering just what we're talking about.
I would say give them due diligence without making it about upsetting me.
Oh, but I'd love to upset you.
I know you do. So
Okay, well, anyhow. So at this point of the show, we like to thank a special group of people. These would be our executive producers. And you may be wondering, hey, why can't I? How can I become an executive producer? I don't know. What are these guys talking about? Especially that Tony. He's our favorite.
Yeah, you are awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Really, thank you. But anyhow, go over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. And there's a couple of different levels that you can participate in. It helps us keep the lights on, as they say. But in addition, you get some great things like barefoot buttons and stickers and picks and T-shirts and
Keychains
and
giveaways.
And giveaways,
We're
which,
gonna do that.
oh man, you won't believe the giveaways. You won't even believe it.
no, we've already given away a set of Brandon Wound pickups too,
And a Pick Guardian custom
and a Pick Guardian custom pick guard.
That's right.
Of your choice. That's why it's custom. Go ahead.
But we're going to give away some really good stuff this time.
Yeah.
Gee, thanks.
So anyhow, there's different levels you can participate. See what fits into your budget, because we'd love any level, but the more that you can help us out, the better. It helps.
Absolutely
It helps
us out so
and
much.
it allows us to do more things, like more giveaways.
We just got new
got my
shirts printed.
with a big old
And
guitar.
that's what
Knobs
this stuff,
logo.
you know, that helps out with that.
But at the executive level producer level, wow, I'm all tongue-tied now. There's something special that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And Jared, what is that?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Your name read on the thing.
Do it.
So without further ado, or delay,
Read the names.
I'm going to read the names of our executive producers.
Yes.
Thank you to each and every one of you. And even if your name is not read, we still thank you if you're a patron.
Yes, absolutely.
We don't want to feel
all
want
helps.
you to feel left out. But anyhow, let's start with Corey Nigro,
Carpenter from Boston.
Darren Gregory, Brian Robison, Doug Christ, Tim Novak, Doug Gann, Chris Kearney, Tyler Bray, Tom Brazen,
My man.
Michael Van Zant, Jonathan Daly, Stefan Lam, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lathrop, Sean S. Ken Sayers, John Anglin, John Esterly, Michael Senchuk, and Tig Harmon.
Yay!
All right. Thank you guys.
We really do appreciate it.
Seriously, yes.
Gracias. Thank you so very, very much. Doug, where can people find you? One more time. Give it to them.
At bandmemes666 on Instagram. Though there's a couple of people that are convinced that me and him are the same guy, but he's way funnier than I am. At Cower Guitars, cowerguitars.com. Yeah. My brother, ironically, is a DJ. One last story, I'll let you go, about the Google joke. My brother is a DJ, but he doesn't go by DJ Cower. He's DJ Narc. Doesn't matter. It annoys him that I'm the more famous Cower on Google. Because my full name is actually Douglas James Cower. I am actually the most famous DJ Cower.
There you go, man. Excellent. Brilliant. And super nerdy. I love it. Tony, how about yourself?
Well, let's say you need a new pick guard for your Cower.
Yep. Yeah. Perfect.
Talk to Doug.
Yeah.
he makes them better than I can, I think, for those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
But maybe
okay.
it broke in when
maybe it broke and Doug says, "No, I'm too busy making Titans or something."
I am notoriously bad about shipping pick guards, so don't talk to me.
There you go. Head over to pickguardian.com and you can check out kind of the standard stock things I have. My niche is really the specialty stuff.
Yes.
Changing out pickups, different materials, things like that.
Amazing materials.
And you can see some of the projects that we occasionally talk about here on Instagram at Pick Guardian and the number 1.
It is the singular easiest way to truly make a guitar your own.
Yes.
Aside from having it made custom by your builder.
And without having to really
do a
modify it without being able to go back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Jared,
you,
how about
Todd.
yourself?
If you need pickups, go to brandnewonpickups.com. And I can make some new pickups look old for your old guitar. I can make new pickups look nice and shiny new. And I can rewind any old or new pickups that you need rewound or modded.
Yes.
How about them screen tops?
You can get screen tops too.
That's
but
right.
From Tony.
Well, you can go ahead and go to screen tops, screentopPickups.com. And Jared's fine hands are in charge of making the pickups. And my simple brain is in charge of selling them.
Yes. Brilliant. Jared, please don't ever start a custom ore making business.
Or
do you want new ores or old ores or
new ores that look old ores?
Anyways,
that was bad. Todd, how can people get a hold of you?
Right?
Yeah. Yes. You can. You can shoot me a note, Todd at theguitarknobs.com, or DM me on Instagram. I'm super active on Instagram, and make sure that if you are over there, give us a follow, please. Pretty please. It's so
one little click.
Super easy. Just go bang. Follow, and then you get all of our updates and giveaways and all kinds of great stuff. Oh man, this has been fun tonight. Gentlemen, thank you for a lovely episode. Doug Cower, thank you so much for spending your hard-earned time hanging out with us.
Oh, thank you guys. Thanks for letting me ramble on.
It was a pleasure.
Ramble out.
Yeah. Perfect segue. Everyone have a fantastic guitar week and subscribe.
Oh, yes. Pickguard porn. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.